We're going to speak about the portions of the ear now, the outer ear, the middle ear, and then we'll go on to talk about the inner ear and the auditory nerve. So the outer and middle ear. Except for the pinna, the structures of the ear are located in the well-protected temporal bone, which is the hardest bone of your body. The conductive mechanism is the outer and middle ear. It conducts sound from the environment to the cochlea. In the outer ear, you have your pinna, and then you have your ear canal, which collects sound waves. They funnel them into your ear canal to the tympanic membrane or your eardrum. And the ear canal has a resonant frequency of 2700 hertz. So it resonates or it amplifies sounds around 2700 hertz. And if you remember from the previous lecture, those sounds are most important for speech understanding. Your ear canal terminates at your tympanic membrane, also known as your eardrum, which is made up of 3 layers. It is an extremely thin and efficient vibrating system. It's very rich in blood and it appears red when it's infected. When it's healthy, it's almost transparent. The tympanic membrane is the first mobile link in a chain of auditory events. Pressure waves cause the tympanic membrane to vibrate, reproducing the same spectrum of sounds as the compression wave. And as you can see, the tympanic membrane is up on the bit of an angle. The compression waves bounce off the tympanic membrane based on different frequencies and intensities in the environment. And that sets in motion a chain reaction with the ossicles, which are the 3 smallest bones in your body. The ossicles are in the middle ear space, that air-filled cavity. So the middle ear space is a small cavity supposed to be filled with air. It transmits sound from air to the fluid-filled cochlea, and it's kept aerated by the Eustachian tube. Your middle ear is very important. Without your middle ear, you would be hearing like you were swimming underwater, okay? Because we're going from 2 mediums, the medium of air to the medium of fluid. And there'd be a loss of energy if it weren't for the middle ear. What the middle ear does is it takes the sound from air and it amplifies it before sending it on to the cochlea. So again, it should be filled with air, and it's connected to your nasopharynx through your Eustachian tube. It's lined with the skin that's similar to your nose, and you have these hair-like projections that'll wipe and clean the middle ear by moving particles down and out through the Eustachian tube. Normally, the Eustachian tube is kept closed, but it's open during yawning, sneezing, swallowing, when there's excessive pressure applied from the nose. If you look at these 2 figures, you see a Eustachian tube in an infant versus an adult. The Eustachian tube in the infant is much more horizontal than that of an adult. The adult's Eustachian tube, their faces are more narrow, so they're longer. So an adult's Eustachian tube drains better. An infant's Eustachian tube, not so much. And any sort of cold that an infant may have, it's much more easier for that infant to blow the cold from their nose into their middle ear space. That's how infants get fluid in their middle ear space, and that's how they get a lot of ear infections. It's because of the angle of their Eustachian tube. So remember I said you have these 3 tiny bones in your middle ear, and it's because of the movement of these 3 tiny bones that sounds get amplified from the air in the ear canal to the fluid in the cochlea. And the way that this happens the most is through the area difference between the tympanic membrane and the stapes foot plate. So it's like a hammer to a nail.